Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 3 and episode number 205 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah.
Need to put a piano to that, a little piano.
Yeah, I think even like it needs a little like before it's like, you are listening to the Crier Media Network. I need like like the Andrews sisters or something,
Mm-hmm. Andrews sisters.
Hope likes this.
Yeah, the Andrews sisters. Yeah.
You
have to run that by Dean and Rook.
Yeah. See, my hair is doing some weird stuff today. It's just all over the place.
Yeah, mine too. It's all gone.
It's a little frizzy and a lot of volume for some reason. All right. As you can see, I'm still MacGyvering it and do not have a script because that's on the other hard drive. So I'm going to do this from memory. Today, recording day is Monday, September 11th.
A rather solemn day.
2023, and according to the Weather Network, it is going to be a lovely day here at the Beaver Lodge with temperatures feeling like 28 and nice sunshine. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, he, Mr. Beaver, and with me, as always, is my dear friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast's founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Kind of slurred that one there. CanadianTarot.com. There we go. Good morning to you, Kit Elaine, Kit Mohan, Kit Dan, Kit Linda M. Bonjour Christian, bon matin, comment vas-tu mon pote? Kit Cindy, how lovely. Good day from Manitoba. Lovely to see you here. Kit Mohan, Kit PNC Bio. I think I said Mohan earlier. Yes, I did. But you know what? He's so nice. He deserves a hello twice. Mr. Grizzly, good morning to you. And how's your mental health today?
Good morning, Mr. Beaver. Yeah, I'm here. There might be a long delay.
How's your mental health today?
It's
okay.
Long delay. Yeah. No, my mental health is surprisingly good. I had a great weekend up at the cottage, my buddy's cottage. We did So Friday night, get up there, had a couple of drinks, sat in the hot tub, smoked a cigar, and then Saturday morning got up. We made breakfast, and then went and played a round of golf. Then back to the cottage to get washed up, and then off to the vineyard. No, actually, we went to the brewery first, had a flight of beer. Then we went to the vineyard, had a flight of wine. Then we went to another vineyard, a new vineyard that. So they technically were founded in 2017, but the grounds of the vineyard were not open to the public until May of this year. And this place is spectacular. They spent millions on this place.
Okay.
It's styled like an old barn, but it's a new building, brand new building, nestled in a valley right against the Tay River, River House Vineyard Winery. And the upstairs they have a giant great room for weddings, for parties, for anything, with a massive patio on right next to it. It's fully wheelchair accessible. So,
Nice.
I say wheelchair accessible, but that's not the correct term. It's fully
Just accessible.
Fully accessible. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Fully accessible. And the great room is spectacular. You should see it. I got some pictures, but I'll see if I can show them later. But yeah, so had a flight of wine there, and then we're driving back to the cottage. One of our buddies was the designated driver, right? He took us around everywhere. We're driving back to the cottage, and we're almost back to the cottage, and I'm like, oh shit. Guy goes, what? I go, I didn't pay my bill. I'm like, what? I go, well, we're all sitting there, and I was engaged in conversation with this American couple next to me, having a really nice time with them. And everybody gets up to leave, and I go, oh, I guess we're leaving. All right, you take care. I got up and left, and we're almost back to the cottage, and I realized I didn't pay my bill. So I said, guys, what can we turn around? They're like, well, why don't you drop us off at the cottage? And Sylvain, the driver, and my buddy, is like, yeah, I'll take you back. So I came back, and I walked in, and I go, hi. And the American couple's like, hey, you're back. I go, yeah, I forgot to pay my bill. And the owner was there, and he's like, and you came back? You could have called us. And I'm like, no, trust me on this one. Irish Catholic guilt. I can hear my mom's in my voice going, get back there and take care of your, So yeah, drove back and paid the bill, and they were like, well, thank you for coming back. It was only like $14, with tax and tip, but still.
It's the thought, right?
It's not just that for me. It's the principle. If I don't,
Well, yes, the principle.
And the American couple, they're really nice. They're both, one was a doctor of chemistry, and the other was a doctor of physics. And well, they're not a couple; they were just friends, actually, because the lady, her husband was at home in the cabin they rented with his sciatica had flared up. But it turns out these were folk that met each other in grad school and have been best friends ever since. So yeah, it was a great time. So anyway, the gentleman looks at me and he says, as W.C. Fields would say, you can't cheat an honest man. And I'm like, well, I hope I can live up to that.
Aww. Wow. That's kind of neat. I like that.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was a really good time. Had a great round of golf. First time I'd swung the club since last year, so I hadn't even been out to the driving range. And one of my buddies goes, Paul, your game's a little off today. The first hole, I couldn't hit broadside of a barn door. Teed up and slice, and that's like, well, that's in somebody's backyard. The second one just got past the ladies' tee. So after that, finished that hole, I shot like 8 on a par 4. Terrible. Second hole, I parred it. Stepped up and just cranked it straight down the fairway, 240 yards, nailed it. And then it was, one hole was great, one hole was terrible, one hole was great, one hole was terrible. My buddy says, you can't practice on the course. That's why you need to go to the driving range. I'm like, you're absolutely right. I got to get to the driving range. So clubs are in the trunk of the car. I'm going to head out to the driving range later this week. I don't know if I'll get another round in, but just to swing the clubs. Just yeah. I love to play golf. I really do.
Oh, lovely. Cool. I paid my registration fee for the curling season.
Oh, wow. I guess that's, it is September, so it'll be starting soon. Eh?
Yeah, we start early October. And because the first digit of my age is now a 5.
Do you get a discount?
No, I get to play curling in the day.
Oh.
The senior league.
Starts at 50, the senior league?
Yes. Oh yeah, the senior curling starts at 50. But it's just like, I remember when I got here a few years ago, and it's like, well, I work from home, so I can curl during the day. I'd no longer have to, like,
Nope.
when you're playing hockey and you get like the midnight match, right? Or the 10 p.m., 11 p.m. match, right? So, well, we have a 9 p.m. match. So, we often don't get out until like 11:15, 11:30. Nobody wants to play it. the 9, the 9 something match. So, I'm sitting there and it's like, wait a minute, I can play at 9 in the morning
Nice.
and I'm up at 5 something anyway.
Why not?
And it's like, what do you mean I have to be 50 before I can do that? So like for the last 5 years, like, come on, 50. Daddy needs to curl in the morning. Daddy needs sleep. So
I
yes,
hear you.
and I get to be the young whippersnapper that hopefully everyone will want. Huh?
Oh, okay.
Huh?
I suppose that.
It's been a while
You can
since I've
probably
been
sweep well because your back's not gone yet.
it's been a while since I've been the belle of the ball.
Tell me about it.
Oh man. Oh, okay.
I was
Well,
gonna lead that with a different thing, but I didn't think I could do it in the right voice. Tell me about it, stud. Sandy from Greece, right?
yes,
Remember?
yes, yes.
I knew you'd get that one.
Oh, well, of course, it's the movie I've seen the most often. It's everybody has that one movie that's like indelibly etched in
Mhm.
their brain because of the age at which they saw it and probably the
Mhm.
number of times which they saw it. Because like hardly
I was
anybody
10.
goes and sees a movie 12 or 15 times anymore, right? Like we
I was
spent time
10 and
with
saw
that.
it in the theater.
Yeah, us it was the drive-in, and it was so popular that it was on every week because when it
Oh, yeah.
wasn't the first feature, it was the second feature for the rest of the summer. So yeah, we saw it a lot. But yeah, that one was I truly believe when we talk about the generations
Mhm.
like this, there's Gen X and millennials. I think there's a little 5-year slice in there
Where it bleeds
that was
over into
called
both sides.
yeah. Well, I call them disco babies.
Okay. Yeah.
I was born in 73. So 78,
Mhm.
77, it's like that's 4 or 5. That's when you start remembering stuff from your
Mhm.
childhood. So it's like, boogie, woogie, 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 dancing shoes, and ring my bell. And like those are the first songs, right?
Mm.
So I'm a disco baby. So
And
Grease
Amy
was my
Stewart, Knock
jam.
on Wood,
Oh, yes,
which is
yes,
a cover.
yes,
Cover.
yes. But yeah, that's my jam. So, pretty much everywhere I go, I'm
Mm. So you've seen Saturday Night Fever, right?
oh yeah. That was before though. So I
Mm.
saw that one later because
Well,
I think that one came
yes.
before Grease. So I was well, first of all, I would have been too young to see in the
No,
theater. And I never
that's
would
right.
have remembered it.
Yeah, because it came out in 77 and Grease was in 78.
Yeah.
Um, I watched it again recently because it was on one of the streaming services. And for the very first time, I saw it in widescreen. And I'd seen it a couple of times before. And each time I watch it as I get older, I'm like, oh, that does not translate well into the
Oh,
modern day.
I know, but I still love it. I still love
Oh,
it. It brings
no,
me to a happy place in my childhood. But yes, it does not translate now. You could not make
no.
it in 2023.
You got to remember the moral of the story is here's this young man who decides he wants more out of life than just the misery that is every weekend, the same thing over and over again, fighting for that little patch of his neighborhood. And yeah, it's a redemption story, and that's why the second film, which unfortunately took too long between the first and second
Yes.
film, Staying Alive, which was the second film, was when he
Yeah.
goes off and goes to dance school and gets on Broadway, and he had radically changed his life.
Yes.
And it is a redemption story, but the thing is, it's like it. Wow, it does not translate well. It's like do not tell somebody from Gen Z to watch that because they'll think there's something wrong with your head. What is wrong with you? Why would you tell me to watch that? What do you mean? And then you watch it with them and you go, oh right, yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, but I Grease is my jam. If it's on, like it's one of those movies, if you're just flicking the channels and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we're watching this. All right. Kids.
I have a I'm posting something here in the chat for the kids because I will address it later, but it's the text from Skippy's speech at the Conservative Party. I'm just going to post a link in the chat.
Okay. Yes, please do, because we will be talking about that today. Good morning, Kit Pete. Hello, how are you down under? It's lovely, lovely, lovely to see you this morning. And good morning, Kit Jen and Kit Ellen and Kit Jillian. I love that you've all arrived. Okay, we will definitely be talking about Pierre's speech because I think we have a little more time this morning.
Oh yeah, it's Monday. I'm
Okay.
working from home today.
Okay. So unfortunately, Kits, you're going to see me look up and down, and my head is going to be in weird stuff because where I'm set up right now, I only have one screen. So I'm using my cell phone to look at my notes as well to bring you news. And it takes a little time to flip through stuff. So it'll seem a little less smooth this morning, but it's still delivered with the same feeling.
I have a unique sports footnote here
Okay.
that I was not aware of until just this now. Andre Dawson, remember Andre Dawson from the
Yeah.
Montreal Expos, the
Yeah.
Hawk, and
Yeah.
remember Tim Raines, the guy who set the rookie record for stolen bases.
Mm-hmm.
They made their big league debuts on September 11th. Andre Dawson was in 1976 and Tim Raines in 1979.
Oh,
I didn't know that until just now. It just came across my feed. I'm like, oh, interesting. Sort of
right.
sports trivia.
Well, since we're talking about sports, we have
Coco.
a new grant. Coco? Screw
Coco Gauff.
Coco.
She won.
Coco. I mean, she won. That's big, but this is Canada, dude.
Oh, the women's doubles, you mean? Yeah.
We have a new Grand Slam champion. I'm so happy. Yes, it's time to talk sports ball. Ottawa's own.
That's right.
Ottawa's own Gabriella Dabrowski, who actually has a park named after her in Ottawa.
My buddy grew up two doors away from her. They grew up, went to high school together, but elementary, high school together, the whole thing.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. At the tender age of 31, wins her first ever women's doubles Grand Slam championship at the US Open. Now, this is her third Grand Slam championship because she has two mixed doubles titles in 2017 and 2018, one Australian Open, one French Open. But this is pretty big. She becomes the first Canadian woman to win a women's doubles Grand Slam championship, but not the first woman to win a Grand Slam championship because that was Bianca Andreescu when she won the US Open a few years ago. They had a great tournament. Her partner, Aaron Routliffe, this is just the fourth tournament they play together. And they've won a Grand Slam. So I think this is a partnership that's going to stand for a while. And she's had a bit of rough here. Gabriella Dabrowski has been as high up as fourth in the world in doubles. And as we mentioned on the last show, she got to the US Open semifinal a couple of years ago with her partner, Luisa Stefani. And she had a massive, I think they were up really early in the match and just her leg just completely blew out. It was... You don't want to go back and look at the clip. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And she was out for a full season. And then Dabrowski started playing with someone named Juliana Olmos. And they had an instant connection. They were doing really well. And then I guess she was sort of in the position where she had like two potential partners to play with, but things kind of all worked out that she ended up alone somehow. She ended up teaming up with Aaron Routliffe, and their fourth tournament together, boom, Grand Slam championships. They had they played the quarterfinal, I think it was, against Leila Annie Fernandez. And that was a fantastic match. They were actually went to a third set, and then they had one set. I think there was a tiebreak or something like that, and they were down. I think they were down by 5 points. The tiebreak, and they ended up winning it anyway. So it was a match with like great momentum swings, some really great shots. It was really interesting to watch. And then in the semifinal, they played against I'm gonna butcher her name, Hu Xie Hui, who is from China, and she is a doubles legend, who's coming back, who came back to the game. And they handled, and she's playing with a young lady from China whose name also I can't remember, unfortunately, who's an upstart in singles. She's just shot up the rankings. She's now 25th in the world.
Oh,
So they and they had again, it was a fantastic match. I'm telling you, look, people watch the singles, but the doubles right now is where it's at. If you like watching some really interesting
yeah.
matches, great
They don't get
points,
the
great
coverage,
shots.
right?
Yeah, they don't get the coverage. But right now there's because what happened is that the singles used to play doubles, and then there was sort of a split where we started
Hmm.
having double specialists and single specialists, and the tour tried to encourage some singles players to start playing some doubles some more. So now you have the combination of the double specialists and the singles, players that you see, and then when they're trying their hands at doubles, and you get some really spectacular matches. So that's really where if you want to see spectacular tennis and fun and interesting tennis, that's really where it's at.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, Grand Slam champion, and considering how tough the season has been for Canadian fans because pretty much everybody's injured or returning from injury, um, it was kind of a I'm sure everyone at Tennis Canada right now is going,
Breathing a sigh of relief. Yeah. Well, how about basketball? Did you see the
and
men's
then
Team Canada?
basketball, and again, total scenario flip.
Mm.
We would have assumed that the United States would have defeated Germany to go to the final, and you would have
Nope.
assumed that we would have beaten Serbia and gone to the final based on all the predictions. So both teams that were favored to win lost their semifinal.
Hmm.
And then you're sitting there and you're thinking, darn, if we were playing Germany, at least we just beat them the week before. We might have a chance at the bronze, but now we're playing the United States. Like, really?
And guess
And
who
we
won?
won.
Yeah. Yeah. Knocked him out.
127 to 118. I think it's the first time in a good long while, or maybe,
1939.
yeah, the United States is shut out of the medals.
Hmm.
It's the first World Cup tournament where the United States has lost matches back to back
Mm.
because they lost, against Germany the time before, and they actually lost 3 matches whole tournament because they lost against Lithuania earlier on in pool play. But yeah. Oh yeah, sorry about the Aussies versus Canadian soccer there. Eh? Hey. We said you had to go for it if you did, and you did. So
Well, and,
we
and
lost it. We
interesting
lost
that
to some of the best.
that when you consider the two most recent World Cups, Women's World Cup of soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, the favorite team was the U.S. Were knocked right out, got nothing.
Yep. Yeah.
Favorite team in FIBA, Federation of International Basketball, uh, they got knocked out. So
Yeah.
the Americans were shut out of the medal rounds in two big World Cup events that they normally dominate in. So both the head of the bodies of those sporting federations are going, "What the hell is going on right now?"
Yeah. And in the United States, unfortunately, when the women got eliminated from the tournament without a medal, there were a certain part, because everything has to be a culture war,
Hmm.
people that cheered within the United States. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I wonder if the basketball players will get the same treatment.
Well, probably, because
Yeah.
if you consider what the cultural makeup of most of the team is,
Yeah. That's what I'm wondering. So yeah, I'm just, oh boy. Anyway.
they love
So,
you when you win, but when you lose, you're nothing but a no good. Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. Ah, so, but hey, and then this guy, Brooks, 39 points, sets
Oh
a
yes,
record
that guy. Oh yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah,
greatest number of points in a medal winning game.
yeah. I saw that. I didn't get to see any of the matches, but I was following along as much as I could. I mean, my weekend was kind of busy doing relaxing guy things, drinking beer and wine and whiskey and smoking cigars and sitting in the hot tub and fishing off the dock and going to the vineyard and playing golf. A real guy's weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know if I suppose traditionally speaking, a real guy's weekend does not involve a couple of vineyards, but I don't give a shit. I had a good time. That's all that mattered. And there was a surprising the second vineyard we went to. Like the first vineyard we went to, I've been to a number of times now, and it's right in Westport, high up on a hill, so it overlooks. You can see everything. This other one I didn't know about. We went there, and the crowd was very, very young. Well, it turns out they were having a 30th birthday party for somebody, and so one of the gifts was this giant crystal decanter. That was, here's a crystal decanter set, and one of the guys, as a joke, did what young men often do. He grabbed the decanter and he pretended to break wind into it. And when he did, he brought it back behind his butt. And then when he brought it forward, he bumped somebody and fell out of his hand and shattered everywhere. And he's like, oh my God. It was like a $200 crystal decanter that everybody had chipped in to buy. And he's like, well, I guess I'm out $200. It happened right in front of us. I just heard crash and I looked up and I went, oh, that's never a good sound.
Oh my. Oh my.
No, Dan, vineyard is not code for strip bar. It was actually a vineyard. I have photos. I'll find them here.
Mademoiselle Fox is asking, was his name Chad? Such a Chad thing to do. Way to go, Chad.
Yeah, it's a very Chad. Probably. I don't know. He felt horrible about it, as one would.
Absolutely.
Right? But yeah, it was kind of funny.
And Mademoiselle Fox, merci pour le gentil compliment sur mon français. She said that she liked the way I speak French. And one more bit of sports news. Canada's men's volleyball team took the silver for the second consecutive tournament. I'm guessing they pronounce it Norsika. Continental Championship finals, where our women took bronze and our men took silver, losing in straight sets against the United States. The tournament was held in Charleston, West Virginia. So, yeah, I'm not sure if this was an Olympic No, it's not an Olympic qualifier. The Olympic qualifier for Team Canada will run September 30th to October 8th in Brazil, China, and Japan. Canada will compete in Group C with China, in China with Poland, Argentina, Mexico, Belgium, the Netherlands, China, of course, and Bulgaria. So, let's see if our men qualify for the Olympics. They have, I think, in the last few, but I believe now they are in a bit of a rebuilding year with a lot of the veterans having retired between the last Olympics and the one to come. So not sure if it's in the cards this year for Team Canada, but they always do us proud. So we'll send them off with some good wishes. All right. Another bit of news. If you happen to be living in Calgary, there was an issue with an E. coli outbreak.
Yes,
that
I saw
affected
that.
several daycares. I think over 190 tests have come out positive, and some of the cases got really bad. There were some hospitalizations, and there were some kids that actually had to undergo dialysis because there was an illness called HUS, which I cannot remember what it is off the top of my head. Hemolytic uremic syndrome, which is a kidney issue. And what happens is that the kidney starts to get blocked by the bacteria and it's not able to filter as well as it normally would. And eventually it can lead to renal failure. So they are looking at what caused this. They believe it's as a result of a central kitchen that was supplying these daycares. I think there was about 11 of them in all. There might be more. since then, but that last count I heard was 11 in terms of the number of daycares. They say that this type of E. coli is usually traced back to either leafy greens or beef. And we need an investigation because while it is quite possible that the contamination happened at the location of the kitchen where the meals were made, it is also possible it happened in the manufacturing process higher up the chain. So authorities are looking into that at the moment, and that's the best information on that I have for you at the moment. All right. Do you
No
have
bad
anything
news.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just uploading stuff here right now to try and show you some photos from the vineyard. I was actually at a vineyard, guys. It was real.
Okay. One other thing here in the United States, Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, had made an appeal in court to have his case tried in federal court instead, because he thought that that would give him a more favorable jury because it would have been held in West Virginia rather than in Georgia. And his argument or his legal rationale was that everything he had done as chief of staff. So therefore, it was under the color of his job. And therefore, he has immunities and protections. The judge said that the evidence before the court overwhelmingly suggests that Meadows was not acting in the scope of executive branch duties during most of the overt acts alleged and when he was doing what he was doing. And then the judge went on to say that the court finds that the color of the office of the White House chief of staff did not include working with or working for the Trump campaign, except for simply coordinating the president's schedule, traveling with the president to his campaign events, and redirecting communications to the campaign. Thus, consistent with his testimony and the federal statutes and regulations, engaging in political activities exceeds the outer limits of the office of the White House chief of staff. In other words, he was denied. And I'm told from what in the sources from what I'm not told, but I heard from the sources I'm listening to that usually the bar for this type of thing is pretty low. So the fact that he couldn't even meet it, not very good. The judge, in a bit of irony,
Yeah.
specifically mentioned that the Hatch Act was particularly useful in helping them determine what the color of the office is and its outer limits. And the reason for which it was ironic is that Mark Meadows is on the record as fairly frequently saying that the Hatch Act is pretty much irrelevant and only meaningful to people in the Beltway because for some reason, even though there's a law, there doesn't seem to be any real penalties associated for violating it. And
Well, yeah.
the Hatch Act basically was passed in 39. It's an act to prevent pernicious political activities. So main provisions prohibit civil service employees from the executive branch, to gain some type of benefit from their political activity. And, I mean, we saw in the Trump era that was happening all the time,
Oh,
like
yeah.
consistently. But apparently it's illegal and you can't do it. But because it's a law that politicians made to govern their own behavior, there actually aren't any penalties. So that's why it keeps on getting violated 3 ways from Sunday. So, but just a little twist of irony that this law that he said
That
was
makes sense.
irrelevant was the one who finally set the terms. It says, no, actually, you're going to be tried in Georgia by a jury of your peers in the place where you actually did allegedly do the criming, like every other citizen. Yes.
That's how it works, right?
And our old pal Jake made a good point on his show saying, if they are yelling and screaming this much at getting a semblance of a taste of what it is being treated like a normal person, and they're talking about the conditions in the Fulton County Jail, how they're so terrible, like this, now that they've had to spend a few minutes in it. But notice that nobody is talking about, oh, well, the conditions are so bad, maybe we should do something about that. It's like, oh, these poor Republicans that had to be subjected to these terrible conditions for a few minutes. I mean, Donald Trump was in and out in 20-something minutes.
Yeah.
Like, you can't deal with that.
Because he had the ability to arrange his whole day rather than having to come in at 9 something in the morning, let's say on a Friday, and wait in line with everybody else for him to time to be served, sitting in the room with a whole bunch of people who are, doing whatever they do when they're waiting for that process. And, if 4 o'clock comes around and they didn't get to you that day, well, I guess you're staying in for the weekend, aren't you?
It's, that's just kind of how it works, right?
You got to like prearrange a time like this after 5 o'clock when nobody was there. I mean, jails are open 24/7, so I guess, like this, and then just like come in, process, and go in and out in 22 minutes. But it's so unfair.
It's
So unfair.
terrible.
The state's being
Terrible.
weaponized. Oh, the
Well, I love how
I'm being subjected to.
some of the talking head pundits on Fox are like, if this can happen to him, it can happen to you. Yeah, well, if you commit a crime, you do get arrested. That's how it works.
It does happen to you when you do this stuff. First, the question is, why the hell did it take so long to happen to him?
He committed treason, and suddenly he's getting arrested. If they can do this to a former president, what will they do to you? Well, if you commit treason, you will be arrested.
Everybody would
1 and 1 equals 2, right? It still does. It's
like everybody in jail right now is thinking, oh my God, I only wish they would have done to me what they did to the president.
Yeah, no kidding.
Why do they not do that for me? It's like, seriously, people, do you know? God, it's almost like you have to turn your brain on off, right, for what they say.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you are minimally aware of how your nation works, it's like it's immediately apparent to you like how this is BS. So it's like
if you have any sort of civics mind.
Yeah. Like this. So, but for all of those who do, right, because of that expression, right, if you're whatever, how that expression goes, it's like if your job depends on you not understanding something, you won't understand it, like this, or not seeing something, for example, right? It's amazing. So I guess it's like my internal hardwiring, because when I hear something that doesn't ring true with stuff that I know to be true, not stuff I just believe, but stuff I actually know to be true, something that there's like a record scratch, and it's like, oh, what? Like immediately, whatever that thing is, just like, well, just grabs my attention. So for you to have that, and then say, you know what, I'm going to suppress that and let that slide, because this is what I need to do for my job or for the cause or for whatever it is. It's like, that must be so hard, because I just can't do it. But wait, there's that. Yeah, I know you want to move forward, but there's that. Yeah, I know you just like to move on, but there's that thing. I'm still stuck on that thing. Can we get back to that thing? Oh man. All right. Over the course of the weekend, the Conservatives had their leadership convention.
Is that what you'd call it? I thought it was a convention of hate and ignorance.
Well, yeah. Tomato, you say tomato, they say tomato, you say potato, you say potato. Hate fest, love fest, hate fest, let's.
Call the whole thing off, please.
Oh man, like off as in off kilter. What the hell was that? I don't know. Okay. Now, for us looking from the outside, who are on the left side of the spectrum, or the centrist part of the spectrum, or team normal, or whatever it is you want to call, we saw what was going on there, and we were thinking, like, what the hell is that? We have to put ourselves in the other shoes. From the other side, that thing freaking rocked.
Oh, of course it did.
Okay, they had a good time. They had a great time. It was well organized. They loved PP's speech. got to be as hateful as they wanted to be by voting on those resolutions like this. Every single person there, well, not every single person there, because there were some people that voted against the hateful resolutions, like 18 or 22% of the people. But let's say everybody except for 18 to 22% of the people who attended there left with nipples fully erect and wet spots all over their clothes.
Well, I mean,
They
when you
loved
consider
it.
the biggest cheer they got on Friday evening was when they took down the pride flags. That was the biggest round of applause for the evening.
I didn't even.
It's a hate fest, folks. It's what it is. They're like, wait, and the wokeness. If you're not woke, you're asleep.
Yep. All right. Oh, good night, Pete. Rest well, my friend. Yep.
All right, brother. Take it easy.
Just when the news is getting juicy. Oh yeah, getting juicy. You'll wait. you when you watch it, you'll see. Rest well, my friend. Normally, when there's a convention, members of other political parties attend. It's a sign of courtesy. It's a sign of respect. You're also getting a little intel. But normally, it is a normal thing for members of other parties to attend and for other parties to let them in. The Conservatives, I guess the last time the Liberals had a convention, declared and made a point of declaring openly that they would not attend such an event. Environment and Climate Change Minister Stephen Guilbeault showed up at the event. New Transportation Minister, I think it is now, Pablo Rodriguez, showed up at the event. Some people, cry baby Caillou, were all over the internet saying, "Oh my God, they're gate crashing." I remember a ambush video a couple of weeks ago when the Liberals were not having their party convention, but their actual cabinet retreat, where Dominic LeBlanc was just sitting there having a cigar, and somebody showed up with a video camera and started asking them, started acting weird and asking weird questions and trying to portray this as like, "Oh, look at you sitting there having a big fat cigar while there are wildfires going on," and all that kind of stuff. So when he does it at a cabinet retreat, it's okay. But when Liberals show up at a party convention, where our well-established tradition is that you can show up to these things, you register, you pay your full fee, and you come in, and they're not allowed in.
Funny how that
they're
works.
gate crashers. So we have the hate keepers who say they want to get rid of the gatekeepers, but who secretly really want to be the gatekeepers.
Welcome to Gilead.
Calling people trying to get into the gate crashers.
Again, welcome to Gilead. They will have you deny what your eyes see.
Kit Saucy goes, I think Karima went to Ford Fest. That was also bananas. And there's also, I think, journalists, I think for the Maple, or I don't know if just her work is being carried by the Maple, Nora Leto, who also went in. We talked about her. Couldn't get in, just like Karima couldn't get in.
They said, we'll arrest you if you show up.
Yes. Yeah, and trying to interview people. So yeah, it's just very interesting. It's the party of freedom and of freedom of expression. Doesn't want the undesirables to come to their event, and doesn't want some people to hear their message live, I guess. Again, it's like, what is it that you're doing with that other hand that you don't want us to see with our own eyes?
Well, they have to control
hear with our own ears what it is that you're talking about as you're talking about it. That's what I'm thinking. That's why I'm saying there was a lot of nipple tweaking going on there. I think that's why the camera. You got Kid James here going, every legit outlet should be allowed in every conference or retreat. I do not disagree. Nora is the Ezra Levant of the left. Oh, wow. Well, that should be interesting. Oh. because we have extended an invitation.
She has accepted, I believe, has she not?
I believe she has accepted. So we will see, because I did not know that. All I saw was somebody who was being denied entry, and but I did not know. I don't know her. I don't know her work. So it's going to, but yeah, blocking media is a fascist tactic, and it's concerning, says Kit Saucy, and I agree. Don't tell her we are friends. Okay, your secret is safe with us, Kit. It's just us. Nobody will ever know.
Nobody will ever know. Nobody will ever know.
Oh man, jeez. So there was voting on some resolutions that came from the floor. A lot of them are terrible.
Really bad. Like really bad.
Um,
Like horrible.
it seems that, for all the talk of inflation and housing, there was no proposal on housing.
Of course not.
PP delivered his speech, which was very much focused on affordability and housing. He spoke for over an hour, and he didn't touch at all on the WEF or vaccine mandates or Bitcoin or but he did talk a lot about housing and affordability. It was almost like he was trying to give some type of economics class. Um, certainly didn't touch gender identity with a 10-foot pole during that thing.
Of course
But
not.
for all that talk about housing from the floor, there was not a single resolution about housing.
Did you expect there to be one? I
You
didn't.
would think that there would be one.
Come on, we know
There
what
were,
the deal is here.
however, two with regard to transgender people. One
course.
trying to define what a woman is, I guess, because for some reason they can't even tell me what a woman is. A woman is whoever damn well she says she is. Duh. It's not that much more complicated to me.
If you don't know what a woman is now, you got a problem.
So for me, it's not more complicated than that. But the other one, of course, was prohibiting gender affirming care for people who are suffering from dysphoria or confusion. Let's make this clear. They are not confused. There may be
They're not.
questioning, there may be discovering themselves, there may be, right? But they're not confused. Now, there's a legitimate debate to be had about at what age do you want to start stuff. Puberty blockers, are they good? Are they not good? Do they help? They help. And and the thing is that as Kit James mentioned, and if you listened to his Sunday show with Dave Wallace on the please, I highly
I haven't checked
recommend
it
it.
out yet.
I listened to it this morning right before coming on, actually. Absolutely. She's it was a really, really great discussion.
I'll listen to it later today then.
Yeah. The and I forgot why it is I was mentioning it all of a sudden, because I was so I wanted to make sure that I was giving it the praise that it was due. So I forgot why it is I was mentioning it, but I'm sure I'll keep talking. It'll feed back in. Oh yes, while there are people who started these types of therapies at a young age and then later on have regretted their decision, right? There are also
Oh yes.
plenty of stories of people who took these and said, "Oh, thank goodness for these."
There's always going to be that.
Had I gone through seeing breasts starting to emerge or whatnot, that,
It would have
you
sent
know,
them right over the edge.
right? You can't develop one-stop shopping, one-size-fits-all policy. One-stop shopping maybe, but one-size-fits-all policy for this type of stuff because everybody's different. And there's a bit of Schrodinger's box to this, right? If you do decide to make this decision at 16 or at 18 or at 14, it is possible
hmm
that things happen in your life that you feel different about later. I don't know where the line is.
It's not for me to say.
It's not for me to say. But it seems to be, again, that as is the case for abortion, this should be a decision that is in the hands of a responsible and knowledgeable medical professional
The patient and
and
the
the
doctor.
patient. And
hmm
depending on the age, where consent rules are, whatever other members of the family have to be involved at that point. But this is not, I'm not understanding why it is that the state feels it needs a place in these decisions, right? Just like the school decision about pronouns.
hmm
It's like they keep on trying to frame it as the school should not be withholding from parents. But knowing a piece of information and choosing not to volunteer it is not withholding.
Well, it's also respecting the right to privacy that the child has.
There's discretion. There is just knowing your place.
Mhm.
There are things you have told me
Mhm.
that, yes, I could go and tell, but it is not my story to tell. It's
Exactly.
not my place to share that information about you. Right? It's the concept of, if the information doesn't belong to you, it's not yours to withhold or share. So if
Mhm.
you happen to know it and you do nothing with it, that's specifically what you're supposed to do. Nothing with it. We
Well,
all know
it's
tons of stuff about other people like this that we don't go out and start blabbing and sharing and telling,
well, it's not our story to tell.
right? This is no
It's all
different.
very suspect. It's all very suspect to me when they go on about they'll go on about bodily autonomy when it comes to getting a vaccination, but the moment it comes to bodily autonomy over another human being, i.e., a child or a woman, they want to take that away from you. So, hypocrite much? Like, how about a hypocrite a lot? How about, oh my God, you're the very definition of hypocrite?
So, and it seems to me that this would be the same type of decision, at what age and how sure, and we have kids that are very mature at a young age, and then we have a lot of people who are older who you talk to them and you said, like, how old are you? Right?
hmm
Every person's different. We it just seems to trying to establish a policy that's hard and fast on this doesn't work one way or another. Oh, hold on for a second.
You got disco going off there.
There you go. Have a good day, my love.
You're in the disco with the lights going on and off.
Yes, the lights were going off and off. My beaver sweetie is going to mold young minds.
Cool.
Yeah. First day of school, he's teaching today. Yay.
Oh yeah, I guess it is
Yes,
September
yes.
after all, isn't it?
The way. So, for the party that purports itself of being of small government, it's like they sure really do want to be all up in your grill
Oh yeah.
when it comes to this particular issue. Can you speak for a second, Mr. Grizzly?
Yeah,
Just
sure,
got
no
off for a
problem.
second.
It's a super complicated issue, and again, I'm not one to be able to speak on it directly because I don't have, as the saying goes, any skin in the game. And it really is between the doctor and the patient, right? In the end. And I just don't understand why people cannot comprehend that fully. It's like we don't have the right to dictate this. Do I have an answer to any of this? Absolutely, I do not. I simply don't. It's a complex issue that needs to be dealt with delicately because we're talking about young hearts and minds that are being molded on a daily basis. And they're going to be molded by their peer group, by society, and to some degree, their parents and teachers. In some families, more so than others. And the idea that the state wants to take away their privacy by, dictating to their parents, oh, look at your child just confessed the other day that they are trans. That's really troubling to me. I mean, that's really troubling. There are a lot of children in school who will um, approach a teacher or maybe a guidance counselor. I don't know, somebody that they trust and respect, and talk to them about what is going on in their life. And taking that away, oh, I guess Mr. Beaver's not back yet. My apologies. Taking that right to privacy away, that right to take their choice about having a confidence with that individual that is in a position of power and authority and respect, taking that decision to have that secret shared with that person, taking that right to privacy away from a child, is basically saying, look, you belong to the state. You have no rights. We've taken your rights away. And it's terrible. Well, that's just it, Elaine. Doctors can't divulge information. So why should teachers be allowed to? There's no client parent or client, no teacher student confidentiality act. Maybe there should be. I don't know. I mean, again, like the big concern here is that, suddenly telling a parent that their child has come to a person of authority or an authority figure, that suddenly their child is trans or gay or whatever, who knows? They've done so because they're probably fearful to come out at home. And that is just a simple matter of reality for many, many children around the world and across the country, that they don't have a safe space in the home. And that is very concerning. Hello, sir. Glad to see you're back. I got to jump out for a sec. I got to take care of something here. I'll be right back.
All right, absolutely. Now, I'm just trying to find some of the motions here. And the thing is that people from the community see this, right? And people from the community that were members even of the Conservative Party. There's a tweeter who goes by Hannah Hodson that says, that tweeted on the weekend, to all the CPC people who have told me they love me, support me, and would fight for me, and who are now telling me to calm down and just go along with this, or worse, telling me to stay quiet. I see you and I will not forget. And she was subtweeting something by Élie Quentin-Nantel that says, breaking, 69% of Conservative Party Canada delegates adopt a motion opposing the medical gender transitioning of children. And the motion was C7, and it reads, a Conservative government will protect children by prohibiting life-altering medicinal or surgical interventions on minors under 18 to treat gender confusion or dysphoria, and encourage positive mental and physical health support for all Canadians suffering from gender dysphoria and related mental health challenges. I'm hoping they do not mean conversion therapy.
Well,
Without
let's
saying,
hope.
I'm hoping. But I am not the most confident person in the world there when it comes to
Understandable.
that. I'm Douglas put a cover on the switch, please. I do not know what that
The light
means. My
switch
hand is
above
up.
your head in the background on the wall.
Oh,
The plate.
sorry.
They're
Yes,
painting.
okay,
They're painting.
Yeah, well, we've been painting for the better part of 2 years, but it turns out that we have to insulate first.
Yes,
So
yeah.
we kind of who knew? All right. So there were a whole bunch of other motions, and yeah, sorry, going back and forth between the notes is a little difficult to find stuff, unfortunately. So hopefully I'll find stuff on other resolutions that they voted on that I can come in with. But let's get to this guy's speech, because it was something. Now, again, I want to make it very clear. And if you listen to the Black Belt episode with James and Kip and Dave Wallace, like I said, if you listen to the speech, you would be rolling your eyes and going, "Oh God, come on!" But they ate this shit right up. They ate it up. They ate that for the target audience to whom it was destined. It was well crafted. Okay, well delivered.
Yeah, not gonna lie, it was.
He is not fully comfortable in his skin yet, and there are moments where it shows, but overall well delivered. Nothing in it would have, for us, we'll see it right away because we're looking for every fault. For people who are just looking, probably wouldn't have seen anything wrong with it. And we have to understand that despite the fact this guy has been in politics for nearly 20 freaking years, and those of us who follow politics know exactly who he is, there's still about 45% of the Canadian population, based on polling, who have no clue who this guy is.
Mm.
So basically, everything that's come out since he put those little ads out
Mm-hmm.
with him doing that puzzle with his daughter and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
that's where they've started getting to know him. And again, in this speech, no WEF, no big there's a couple of shout outs to the truckers, but to truckers, not the occupation. No mention of the occupation, no mention of vaccines, no mention of COVID, no mention of the WEF, no mention of Bitcoin, no, all the really weird things. He focused on housing and affordability. And like right near the end of his speech, because he talked for about an hour, like in the last 6 minutes, that's when he fit in climate change and public safety and defense and like this. Like he just sandwiched all them stuff in like really, really quickly. But he spent all his time talking about pretty much two things. And if you got to eat, and if you need a roof over your head, which we all do,
Oh, yeah.
his message seemed really freaking moderate. So he's doing the deux langues, deux discours thing, 2 languages, 2 discourses, but in 2 different ways. He's doing it with English, French, but he's also doing it with his message for the mainstream, and then the message from the people who donate. And the message from the mainstream is really well crafted.
Oh, yeah.
And is an exceptionally good Trojan horse.
Well, there's a lot of people who just won't pick up on his dog whistling.
We should be concerned.
Oh, yeah. I am. I'm genuinely worried. If he survives to the next election as party leader, and that's a big F, I thought he would have been gone by now, to be honest with you. So I got that one wrong, sadly. Wish I didn't get it wrong. I wish I got it right, but I didn't get it right. And that's okay. Those things do happen. But I really thought he would have been gone by now. If he survives to the next election, which is basically 2 years from right now, right? 2025. If he survives till then, and I don't think he will, but if he survives till then, and if the Conservatives were to win even a minority, and he was in charge, I shudder to think of what will happen to this country. Because he is the king shit at Turd Mountain. Literally, he's the reformer of the reformers within that party. I mean, he's the dog whistling. I'm trying to be polite right now. I'm trying, and it's difficult to try and be polite and use proper linguistic terms when all I want to do is scream obscenities at this shit gibbon of a man.
Yeah. So, the speech started off because I'm not sure if everyone watched it. And as you know, I subject myself to this torture so that you don't have to. Mr. Dimples Undershirt concerns me more. Me too. The more I hear him, the more I hear him, the more there's something going on with that guy that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly what it is or what it is that he's hiding on that, but there's something that's not right. And this is a guy that hides a lot of stuff about himself. So, I'm not sure what's going on behind that veneer, but I don't like it either. Liz Truss was the lettuce and Pierre Poilievre's a Brussels sprout. Get saucy. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
They both had the same plan coming in, and then Liz Truss's didn't meet first contact very well. All right. So they opened by showing 2 of the 3 new ads that they had done. The first one in French, which is the one with him, with her talking about her husband, how he's a good dad and all that kind of stuff, and takes good care of his children, he's a good husband, and the one that was really trying to soften. And if you listen to it in French, because there's a version in English, mais quand tu l'entends en français, elle parle comme une Québécoise.
Yeah.
She speaks like a Québécoise. She speaks like with the Quebec French accent. She's, not even like me. Quand je parle en français, like this, just a clean street sort of newscaster normative. Like she's got the accent and the words, and cutting off some of the letters, and
I speak Gatanese, là.
Yeah, but she speaks it, right? And she's identifying as Québécoise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when they speak about her, they do not speak about her. Yeah, she says, I came over here and whatnot like this, but she doesn't speak as if she identifies as Latin or identifies as someone primarily who came from somewhere else. She had, and she has been in Canada for a very, very long time as a young child.
That's right.
But she's being identified. You know what? Like Jean Chrétien was le petit gars de Shawinigan.
Mm-hmm.
She's la petite fille de Pointe-aux-Trembles.
Well, and
the little girl from Pointe-aux-Trembles.
The funny thing about calling Jean Chrétien the little guy from Shawinigan is he's 6'3". I've met him. He's a very big man.
Yeah,
not little.
So, but this is clear branding because they are nowhere in Quebec, and right, she's the entry point for that. She's good.
Oh yeah. Well, that marriage was arranged way too much to try and build them, right? Try and build them up and make him a leader.
Well,
did I say that out loud? I said that out loud, didn't I?
Yeah, well, that's why I'm
arranged, planned, built, created in a laboratory.
There's a lot of Evita.
Oh yeah.
To her. I guess if you've ever seen the movie, like this, the way that she talks him up and like this, it's like, you have to do this for Juan Perón and he will save you like this, and he will help with workers and like this. I mean, the only thing that she wasn't doing like this, but there were a couple of these, and like like this, but it's and I know with women we often say soft and warm.
Oh, there's nothing.
I know she
nothing.
wasn't soft, she wasn't warm, and it's not that she's not soft. It's not soft and warm in terms of like she's not likable. It's she's on a mission.
Mhm.
She's on a mission to get him elected. It really is her job to get him elected, and it's apparent in the facial expressions and the gestures and the delivery, because it looks to the un-PR trained eye like a woman who's just really passionate about selling her husband, but it's not. It's not.
No, it's planned. It's concocted. It's schemed. It's orchestrated. It's
Everything is just too well placed and thought of.
well. Remember what I said on Friday. They do not want to govern. They just want power.
The
That's all
words
it
are
is.
too perfectly, but the words are too perfectly chosen to create image.
Mhm.
Right. She talked for almost 15 full minutes
Mhm.
to introduce him. So not like a little 5-minute introduction, like nearly 15. And she was introducing herself a lot as well, which again just gives me that Evita vibe. And that makes me very uncomfortable. Very, very, very uncomfortable.
Well, and understandably so.
Yeah. We don't have that tradition here.
No.
In Canada.
This is new. This is new ground, new waters, new territory that we're venturing into, and it's unfamiliar to all of us.
Yeah, and when she is, when I'm
very
saying
American.
that she is, very American, and when I'm saying that she's identifying as Quebecois, a lot of the stuff was American, I should say, by the way. 'Cause, as she identifies as Quebecoise, in that 15 minutes, there was literally an exercise of major fluffing on the Quebec people.
Well, why do you think they had it in Quebec City, right?
Well, yes, I mean that's the main reason, because they know they're thinking that their path leads there, through there. But
He's not
she had a
popular in
whole
that
section.
province.
She had a whole section where she kept on repeating "Je me souviens,"
Yeah, I will remember.
right, which is on the license plate. Je me souviens. Now, je me souviens, like this, when we're saying, because everybody turns on "Je me souviens," well, je me souviens de quoi? What do I remember? Like the full expression is "Je me souviens d'être né sous le lys et d'avoir grandi sous la rose," or something like that. I was born under the lily and raised under the rose. The fleur de lis, France. The rose, England. So I'm not remembering something good here.
No, it's all kind of bad.
It's not good times that we're remembering, right? I remember this, and that is why I stand for this, and this. So she took the "Je me souviens, je me souviens, je me souviens," and then, of course, they made me feel at home with no difference. Again, with the whole context going on with Quebec, with Bill 21, Bill 96, and all those kinds of things, and ostentatious symbols. Well, you're not wearing any ostentation symbols and not trying to become a teacher, so of course you haven't been subjected to any difference. Now, this is stuff you have to understand that the base in Quebec, the people that vote CAQ, people who vote Bloc, love to hear. Right?
Oh, yeah.
We're not racist. We're the most tolerant society like this. We just have a different respect with religion. We're only trying to protect our culture. It's like we're not like if you had been oppressed like we were, you would be doing this too, right?
That oppression
It's not
ended
coming
a
from a place of
long
hate,
time
but
ago, though.
I'm
Shouldn't be forgotten.
just saying,
Should not be forgotten. No, I mean, I'm not trying to dismiss
always
it.
vigilance.
Yes, I'm not
and
trying to
always
dismiss it
vigilance.
at all. Like, I please understand that. I'm not trying to dismiss anything here, or be an
But
apologist. But you know,
but she's feeding into that narrative. Look at me, I'm different, and I've never been treated differently, and I've always been fully accepted by you. And so she's playing in that. And then she actually said, no more hyphenated Canadians.
yeah, that's curious.
And about a minute later, she starts speaking Spanish.
Yeah, like, really?
Now, if you were in the United States, I would understand that.
Mhm. And that there is a growing
It's
Hispanic
not an official
population in
language, but I
Canada.
would understand that. But here, it's not a case. So now she's just showing off.
Yeah.
Right? She's just showing off in this case. So no more hyphenated Canadians. Then literally about a minute later, she starts speaking in Spanish for a while. And then you really so no more hyphenated Canadians. So much for freedom, so much for the Canadian mosaic.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the one thing about Canada is you get to be Canadian and whoever
Yes.
else you are. Right? So no more hyphenated Canadians. We're all Canadians, all one all one melting pot. Right? And then like the full Evita moment was the victim statement that led to a standing ovation. Right? When someone shows you pain and fear, it's not the time to turn your backs on them or call them names. Hello? There's a deadly disease going out. Please, don't come out without a mask, and please don't cough on us. And it's like, oh, you stupid sheep, you drank the Kool-Aid, and then you go Fauci lovers and Truanons, and like, really? When
People
someone
died.
shows you fear, like fear for their life,
Yeah.
like not wanting to contract an illness that will kill them, you don't turn your back on them and call them names. You just like try to close off all the borders and occupy the capital and overthrow the government.
And let's not even get into the discussion of the ramifications of long COVID and how it has a certain percentage of the population that have it are now incapable of functioning day to day like they once could. They are now, for want of a better term, disabled by this disease. But that doesn't fall under any sort of disability schedule, if you will, so that, okay, I can't work because I have long COVID. Well, it's not recognized. Insurance doesn't cover it. ODSP, which is a joke anyway, won't give you anything. So what are you going to have to do? Draw welfare, which pays less than ODSP, which is an insult in and of itself. So are we just going to throw people away like garbage? Because that seems to be what's happening.
But it seems so. What we did, right? The seniors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, when that guy in the United States like made that comment, oh, I'm sure there's a couple of people that wouldn't mind like kicking off early in order to make the economy better for their children and grandchildren.
Excuse me? Yeah, that's just warped.
Right. And then she tried to paint a picture of him as a thoughtful man. Say, you see the person out there doing all that stuff, but when I'm at home, I see all the hours he spends in quiet contemplation and deep analysis of all the files. And that's why he was able to predict inflation 2 years before the experts. He didn't predict inflation 2 years before the experts. He started talking about it, but he didn't predict it because, I mean, when we shut everything down, we kind of knew that when it would come time to open up, we wouldn't all be opening up all around the world at the same time. Hey, old world, COVID is over everywhere. Let's just open up and like just continue. That there would be stuff that would happen. And we all know that, yes, of course, when you increase the money supply, which happened, and then you give people nothing to spend it on because we couldn't go anywhere and spend anything. So a lot of people, some people changed things to their homes and renovated, and some people moved homes, moved away because they thought, okay, this is how the world's going to be now. Be working more from home. Some people just, but a lot of people either paid down debt or accumulated savings, and then all of a sudden we reopen, and then we have pent up demand. Well, there's a lot of money going around, and there's not a lot of supply because there's still not enough people to make stuff or to ship or get them there. So of course you
That's a
get
little
inflation.
problematic. Eh?
We knew that would happen when we closed down.
Mhm.
He's not a genius. It's just like, while everybody else was talking about, well, as soon as the first rounds of vaccines arrived, and all of a sudden then they started, that's when Team Canada ended.
Mhm.
And then they
Oh,
started to
yeah.
angle for political advantage. It's like he knew that the government would still be focused on trying to get vaccines out and watching if there's going to be other waves and stuff like that, and trying to engineer some type of soft landing. And he just started talking about housing inflation right then and there. So it's not because he predicted it before everyone else or saw it before everyone else. It's just that 2 years ago he saw, like everyone else saw,
Mhm.
the natural consequence of this type of thing will be these types of things. And he decided to talk about it, being the only one talking about it then, because everybody else was focused on everything there. And it just sounded like shit talking at that moment. And it's like, why are you annoying us with this stuff? But now that it's here, now they're trying to frame him as some genius.
He's not a genius. He's
Yeah,
an
and as
idiot.
Mr. Gal says, inflation tends to be cyclical. Just keep saying it's coming, and eventually it'll come. Yeah, eventually you'll be right.
It's like, it's going to rain someday. When? Someday. It'll rain. Guaranteed.
Yeah, you just watch. Oh boy, will you be wet?
Just hope it doesn't rain like it did in Greece. They got 3 years of rain in 2 days.
Yeah.
They say there's now permanent lakes that have been formed as a result of this. I'm like,
Oh yeah, no doubt. So she finishes talking, and then they announce him, and then he comes in with this huge gauntlet of a reception line. So reception line, one set of windmills, hello, going around. Some people going, Pierre. Gets on the stage, puts his arm around Anna, a little round of synchronized waving. This little kiss, little chance of bring it home, like this. Then of course he opens with one of his "Take my wife, please" bits. But reverse, "Take my wife, please," because it's like, oh my God, look at her, she's so wonderful. Because, oh yeah, when I met her, people said, who is this brilliant and beautiful Québécoise? I'm sure nobody turned around and said, who is this brilliant, beautiful Québécoise? Who's this brilliant, beautiful woman? Who's beautiful like this? But no. But who is this brilliant and beautiful Québécoise? And what is she doing with this squarehead who seems to have lost his glasses? Ha, 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 ha.
It's
And he said it in
Millhouse.
French, of course, so tête carrée, which is like, we had like grenouilles and tête carrée when I was a kid. You were either a Coke and May West, Coke and Joe-Louis, or Pepsi and May West.
That's to get to know breakfast, though. A Pepsi, and I made breakfast every morning there, And then at lunch, I have a poutine.
And then one of the, and I believe if you were Pepsi and May West, you were Anglo, and if you were Coke and Joe-Louis, you were Francophone.
Reverse that.
That was the stereotype.
Reverse that. Pepsi May West is Francophone. In Gatineau.
You sure?
Oh, yeah.
Joe-Louis. Oh, because Joe-Louis is pretty French. May West.
I know. No.
Okay. Coke, Pepsi. Well, anyway, one was one and one was the other, and that was the stereotype.
Well, that was the nickname oftentimes for somebody from Gatineau was a Pepsi. Hey, you're a Pepsi.
A Pepsi.
Yeah.
Wait, yep. So, and then of course so you have the Americanism of the whole first lady-ish type stuff and the big gauntlet and all that kind of stuff. And then, the one thing like that often is said in America that always makes Canadians roll their eyes. Only in America could someone come from such a poor life and rise up the system to become an elected official. This couldn't have happened anywhere. And it's like, we're kidding. I was like, we do this every damn day, people. people in England, people in Belgium, people in Germany, people. It was like, hello? Really? No, that can't only happen in the United States. Well, it is only in this country that a Venezuelan refugee and the adopted son of school teachers could stand on the stage, the leading stage of Canada's oldest and biggest political party. It actually is,
No, it's not.
and it was a corporate hostile takeover. It's one of the newest parties in the country, not the
The
oldest.
oldest was the Progressive Conservative Party. They are not progressive
Yes.
conservatives.
That party does not exist anymore.
They can't even tell the truth about
takeover.
that.
It was a hostile corporate takeover, and then they took the Progressive card and they basically drowned it in a bathtub.
Well, I dumped on Peter. What's his name? The conservative turncoat from Nova Scotia. Peter MacKay. Thank you. I couldn't remember his surname.
Yeah, who came up, who popped up for more abuse.
Yeah, well, he came up and he's like, what a great get together with the family, the conservative family. And I'm like, you are a turncoat. You sold out your family to a bunch of religious reformers. I used to have respect for you.
In your back, and they stuck the knives in his backs a few times
since. Yeah. Why does he keep coming back?
And he keeps coming back.
Why? Like, dude, they hate you.
It's I know, but it's like, does like Peter MacKay think like my only theory from that is like Peter MacKay is also hoping that Pierre Palmer implodes somewhere along the way and then go, hey, how do you like me now? Fourth time's the charm? Dude, respect yourself, man.
He seems to have no self-respect.
Have a minimum of self-respect.
Like he seems to have none. I mean, I tweeted him directly. I sent it directly to him. I said, dude, I used to have respect for you, but none anymore. You sold out your own party. You did it willingly.
Oh yeah, he did it. And it's like, so it's only in this country that a Venezuelan refugee and the adopted son of a school teachers could stand on the stage, the leading stage of Canada's oldest and biggest political party. Only here could that happen. Only in Canada. Only in Canada. Only in our country. Like this, and like they started chanting, I think, "Bring It Home," but for a second I was half expecting them to start going, Canada, Canada, Canada. It's like that's the only way that moment could have been more American.
Bring it home, though. Okay, what are they bringing home?
They still haven't told us what it is.
Yeah, powerful paychecks. I don't know what that is.
I am powerful paycheck.
Powerful paycheck man. Like powdered toast man? Is he like that?
Powdered toast man.
Powerful paycheck man. I'm guessing.
Oh, God. All right. See, this is what I mean. He makes it so easy for us to laugh at him like this, and we don't take him seriously. But seriously, the way that this was crafted, I'm telling you, I kid you not, the intended audience is eating this up. Okay, it's done very well. Then, more stuff. The promise of Canada is that every successive generation would do better than the previous, and that's the one Trudeau broke. That's the promise Trudeau broke. Not exactly true. Nobody promised you that the next generation would be. I mean, we were very fortunate that between global pandemics, there's been like about 100 years. So, conditions have been such that it's been able for people to like pass down generational wealth and make lives better. But, all it takes is one global pandemic and about 50 years of trickle down and then poof, gone.
Yeah.
And trickle down, wasn't that your thing, conservatives?
Yeah. It's been proven time and time again that it doesn't work. All it does is make the rich richer and the poor poorer and keeps us down. Always punching down. That's all they ever do. Punch down. And there's what PNC Bio says here. The party is currently in love with Pierre. They won't be happy until they try a Canadian Trump. Hopefully their parties are smart enough to keep reminding people of all the stupid shit he's done. Very poignant statement. And you have to remember, too, when we had our chat, our political discussion / interview with Mark Garrettson the other day, Mark said to us, you would be shocked at the number of people that call my office to discuss their Second Amendment rights. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, there are people in this country who think the Second Amendment applies to them. And I'm like, the Second Amendment in this country was to allow Manitoba into Confederation. That's the Second Amendment.
I'm sure if we had some lawyers on, there'd be plenty of them that would ask about people pleading the fifth.
Yeah.
It's like, we
We don't have that.
Anyway, yeah. So
Stop
BP
watching
then went
television,
on.
maybe watch the news, maybe read a book, maybe open up a history book, maybe take a basic civics lesson.
Yeah. Then he continued on by saying, well, this promise that Trudeau broke, that each generation is going to do better than the next, is something that is a reality he's going to restore. And then he engages in some very clever preemptive framing by claiming that there are only two choices, except the choices are different in English and in French. In English, it's the Trudeau NDP coalition, but in French, it's the Trudeau Bloc coalition. Which is just nonsense. When's the last time a separatist wanted to help a liberal?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Then, talks about the Trudeau Trust Fund a little bit. Then he starts fluffing Stephen Harper. And if you look at his Twitter feed today, oh boy. Yeah. Stephen Harper balanced the budget by
He ran a
selling
deficit.
at fire sale price. Yeah, he ran deficits, but he balanced budgets like for the first 2 years, coasting off the Martin stuff, and then had deficits. Then the finance minister claims he didn't see the 2008 financial crash coming, but of course they scheduled an election just before it hit, even though they claimed they didn't see it coming. Then he said balance the budget, and I remember he did that before going out by selling at fire sale prices and at a loss GM shares that we could have held on until whenever they were profitable, because federal government is not expected to have a life expectancy of 72 years and then pop off. That's one of the beauties of a federal government, is that we assume that the country will last as long as eternity lasts, and therefore you have a long time to pay down debts. And then Canada's middle class apparently was richer than America's for the first time under Harper, and crime dropped 25%, and people in small towns could leave their doors unlocked. I think Michael Moore proved that with Bowling for Columbine, and I think that was before Harper was there. Yeah, I know. Right.
It's just,
and all of this, and all of this
bullshit.
Like this. And all of this despite wars going on in Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, and yes, Ukraine. Okay. First of all, let's not try to pretend that whatever was going on in Ukraine back in 2006 or before was anything on the scale that's going on now.
Not even close.
And let's not pretend that there are not any other wars going on in the world right now. We've got Yemen. We've got like 7 African nations in the last 3 years. We've had coups.
We had nothing to do with Syria or Iraq. We didn't supply personnel or armament to either of those.
Yes. No.
So why is he even talking about that?
But there were wars going on at the time, like there are wars going on now, and Stephen Harper did all of that, right? It's like
cascade of bullshit. A Niagara Falls of bullshit.
Yeah, it's basically funny. When Stephen Harper was Prime Minister of Canada, none of those wars caused inflation in Canada. None of those wars were on the same scale as the one going on right now. None of those wars ended up in the global breadbasket. None of those wars stopped shipping through any major shipping route. None of those wars.
No, not even close.
None of those wars involved a superpower. God, just so.
What was it Borat said? I support your war of terror.
Yeah. And then he's comparing, well, they both had a big thing, you know. Harper had the 2008 financial crisis and had the global pandemic. Again, scale.
Yeah.
Scale. The pandemic made the 2008 economic crisis look like an amusement park ride.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about housing and the situation now, even though, as you keep on reminding us, Mr. Grizzly, they're the ones who deregulated the sector.
Yeah.
About 30% of all housing owned in Canada right now is owned by investment groups.
Mhm.
That's 30% of housing that could have people living in it is not.
No, they're
Who changed
investment
the law to
groups.
make that happen?
They did. Foreign
They
ownership
caused
laws
this
were
problem.
changed by them. They
He
caused the
claims that
problem.
he claims the carbon tax and the carbon tax alone is what is sending people to the food banks. The price of gas can go down more in one single day than the carbon tax is added to the price of gas total in 5 years.
It's already been
But
proven.
that is the difference.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so that you're on the verge of losing your home.
And if memory serves, the price of food has not increased one iota due to the carbon tax, carbon regulatory fee, actually, because that's what it is. It has not increased, and it's been shown that it's not increased the cost of food. Because it's not like it's, every truckload of food is now $2,000 more because of the carbon regulatory fee. That's not how it works.
No.
But he's got a good buzzword that he can hit you over the head with.
Oh yeah. And then he goes on then to, of course, because we have to villainize the prime minister, someone who is a nefarious oppressive force trying to make life harder for Canadians. He says, well, Trudeau blames Canada for all of this. He says that Canada has no core identity, that Canada is not the best country in the world. He's ashamed of our common history. Talking about the passport stuff again.
Yeah.
There can be no heroes but him. That's why he put a picture of himself swimming at Harrington Lake in the passport. Apparently that squiggly thing is Trudeau, and Trudeau had a private meeting with that artist and said, represent me somehow. Like this is with everything that's going on.
The conspiracy theories.
I just
Yeah.
quote, this business of deleting our past must end, and this is a matter on which English Canada must start to learn from Quebec. Quebecers, and I'm saying this deliberately in English, do not apologize for their culture, their language, and their history. They celebrate it, and all Canadians should do the same. Vive le Québec! Vive la nation québécoise! Vive la nation québécoise!
That's kind of sounding like Vive le Québec libre.
Yeah, and I'm
De Gaulle,
guessing
maybe?
that to all Canadians who happen to wear hijabs and kippas and all other religious garb who cannot get a job in certain sectors of Quebec, I'm guessing he's just saying that he's got nothing for you there. And to Anglophones who are having education rights suppressed, I'm guessing that there's nothing there for you. And to immigrants who are given, I think it is all of 6 months or 1 year to be able to learn French, or else they cannot get served in French anymore. I'm guessing there's because everybody, when they're coming from a foreign country, if they don't speak English or French, or sometimes even either language, is and they're trying to set up in a new land and try to find their bearings, is going to master the host country's language well enough in 1 year to be able to interact with the government. So I guess he's got nothing for them too.
No, you're screwed. You're on your own.
Because apparently English Canada must start to learn from Quebec, and all Canadians should do the same.
Well, I guess.
And then more Quebec fluffing. We're determined to send our children to school in French. And we supported the Quebec as a Nation motion. I was there when that happened. Oh, now he remembers what he did when he was in the Harper government. No, mister. Yes, and a smaller central government will make room for a bigger Quebec and bigger Quebecois.
What the bloody hell does that mean?
I have no idea. But sounds good.
exasperated.
Sounds good.
So does a powerful paycheck and bring it home, but it doesn't make any bloody sense. I've never had a powerful paycheck. I've had a paycheck.
Yeah.
Never had a powerful one.
And then we get to a clip that I'm going to show you because I've just been reading them, but this one you need to hear from him.
Okay.
This is where
Things go off the rails.
Well, not off the rails, but let's say the most shamelessly awful attack on the Prime Minister on this one. So hold on. Let me set it up here for you. There you go. That should do it.
Okay, go full screen and I'll blow it up.
Yep.
Anytime, sir. Go ahead and hit play.
I'm not sure if I have to hit. Okay, this bar may stay down here, but okay.
That's fine. Just go ahead. No sound. Yeah, we've got no audio.
There's no audio?
No audio. No. No sound.
Oh, why would there not be?
I don't know. Send me the clip and I'll be able to show it from here.
Okay.
Just send it to me in the chat.
All right, hold on.
Do a copy paste and I can, yeah. I should be able to play it from here.
Okay. And I'll give you, a timestamp. There's going to be a little commercial before first on it so that you'll have to play out first. All right, hold on. I think this timestamp is around 37 minutes, but I will apologize to people listening at home. I'm doing some technical stuff. Yeah, first clip, 37 minutes will be and then when I tell you to stop, don't close it because I'll give you a timestamp for the next clip afterwards.
Okay, give me a sec here. 37 minutes and give me just a couple of seconds. Okay, 37 minutes and 2 seconds is where I'll start it from. And
all right,
here we go. I got to turn the volume on.
But Canada, it's what he thinks of Canadians. He calls them small, fringe, and angry. Recently in Charlottetown, he said everybody needs picking on him because, quote, it's a really tough time to be a politician. Does anybody have a violin? No, Mr. Trudeau. It's a really tough time to be the 74-year-old truck driver I met door knocking in Bowmanville, who just got his eviction notice despite always paying on time. Finding another place will cost him $700 extra. Doesn't have $700 extra. So his choice now is to go to his full-grown daughter, his little girl, and ask to live in her basement or become homeless. I didn't know what to say to him. What is he supposed to do? Go back to driving a truck 70 hours a week? He's 74 years old. His back can't take that. But I didn't see anger in his eyes. I saw fear. Mr. Trudeau, if you think life is tough for you, you should meet the carpenter I met at a Tim Hortons in the Sioux, who lives in a parking lot.
Wow, he's bad at reading the teleprompter.
Because he can't afford the rent. He wasn't angry either. But I was angry for economy where the people who build our homes cannot afford to live in them is fundamentally unjust and wrong. La famille qui a vu ses paiements.
Right.
The family saw its mortgage payment increase by thousands.
Okay.
Let me
You
get my
can
hip waders
see-
on to wade through the bullshit.
Okay, but that's our reaction.
Mhm.
Now,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
put
yeah.
yourself in the position of the audience.
Oh, yeah. No, they ate it up.
That is
Hey.
well written.
Oh, yeah.
That is well crafted, and that is not an extreme message.
No.
That's not anti-abortion. That's not climate change denial. That's not anti-trans. That's not anti-WEF. That's not trucker Hong Kong. That's,
Hmm.
oh my God, that poor man, that poor 74-year-old man. Oh, that poor. Notice that he doesn't give them names anymore.
Oh, no.
Because that didn't work very well after Mustafa.
Yeah.
These alleged people that he meets. But I'm sure there are people for whom that is the reality.
Linda's got a very salient point here. The thing is, you can point out all the lies and inconsistencies you want, but that kind of thing will appeal to people who want to hear it. Sadly,
Yes.
you are dead on the money there, Linda.
And that's why I'm telling you, all the people that turn around and says, oh, I don't want to listen to that thing. I can't stand to hear his voice. You're just like, this is why you have to listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
And how they're saying it. And that's why you have to take off this thing that makes you roll your eyes like this and so listen, okay, if I were a conservative, if I were somebody who was having a tougher time, right? My mortgage here before I got it got stress test at 5% higher than it was. Because they wanted to know that, yes, okay, I do not like the fact that that my mortgage is 50% higher, more than 50% higher than it was when I signed 2 years ago. I don't like that. But I'm still not wondering where my next meal is coming from. I have a whole lot less disposable income. A whole lot less. I'm paying down my bills a whole lot less fast.
Yeah.
Right? I guess there's $500 to $600 a month that's now going through my hands for which I get nothing more
I recognize that.
than was the case. But I'm still not suffering. There are people who are. Because by the end of this year, 66% of people who hold mortgages will have renewed them. A lot of them are renewing at rates that are probably going to be about 5% higher than what they had.
Yeah.
There's a lot. When we say the Bank of Canada's decisions, they take a full 2 years. The first one they did was in March, whatever. We're at about 18 months of those ones. They're starting to work their way through now. People that are reducing like that. Why are people still spending? Because people haven't renewed their mortgages yet. We talked about that with Scott. Yes. But look at the end of 2024 when 64% of houses will have renewed their mortgages and see what happens, how much economic activity slows down.
You're going to see a big difference.
So he is out there basically saying that all this situation, so this 74-year-old trucker, former trucker, right, who would have gotten renovicted, let's say.
Thanks, Doug Ford.
And now is on his pension and whatnot. Well, that's exactly it. This is the Prime Minister's fault exclusively. It's not the fault of premiers who eliminated rent control. It's not the fault of elected officials who didn't zone for purpose-built rental at any time over the last 30 years. It's not for city councils or provincial premiers that did not properly regulate for the event of stuff like Airbnb. We could have decided very early on that you could do Airbnb like this in your own home. That's your primary residence.
Yeah.
Like this. And that's it.
Which is
it's not the fault,
regulation that it should be.
Yeah. Not the fault of the previous prime minister who deregulated home ownership, making it such that 30% of both properties owned in Canada are owned by investors. Not the fault of organized crime using real estate as money laundering opportunities.
Welcome to the new feudalism.
Not the fault of the president, provincial governments who are not closing the loopholes to prevent the money laundering in their provinces. Because if Doug Ford is any indication, that's not the side on which their bread is buttered.
Oh, goodness, no. Oh, goodness, no.
Then he keeps on going on to the speech to talk about, how the government's not doing right by youth who are trying to find a way through, even though, well, they shut down the whole We thing and prevented that jobs program that would have helped them during the pandemic.
And the forensic
And then, of
accountant
course-
proved that they were not in violation ethically of anything?
Yeah, they weren't, of course, because it was flow through, and they were just having administrative costs. And the
So
only
they
people that
destroyed a
could benefit-
charity.
And the only people that
score a
could benefit
point.
from the program were people who were actually students looking for a summer job, which his mother or brothers were not.
Yes, Sergeant Winterlife.
Obviously, right? And then he goes on to talk about veterans for a bit, which just prompted an "Are you fucking kidding me?" from me.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, and then ended it like, veterans, yeah, let's hear it for our veterans. Like, we know what you did with the veterans. And again, he's talking about this homelessness stuff and whatnot, like this not helping the veterans. It's like, you're the government who actually said, hey, you know what, veterans, how about this? Rather than taking care of you for the rest of your lives, like has been the social contract, how about when you're at your most vulnerable, when you're coming back, probably suffering from PTSD and whatnot, like most likely to be homeless or maybe get addicted on something, that's when we give you a lump sum payment. Just one time right now, and you just manage it yourself, okay? And then
Yeah.
Well, closing bit. This is the guy that wants you to make like, yeah, let's hear it for our vet. Hey,
No. My father, who is a veteran, a retired veteran, has no use for that party. Mostly because he watched Veterans Affairs offices get closed across the country by who? Aaron O'Toole. My father has no use for that party. Also, because of the fact that I have, taken the time to break it down to let my parents know that they are not progressive, they are not conservative, they are reformers under a new name. And they fool a lot of conservatives into believing that they're the Conservative Party of Canada, but they're not. They're not even close. I'll be right back.
Okay, sorry, I didn't expect him to just drop out like that. I was looking for a timestamp there while he was talking. All right, so the next thing I'm going to want to show you is a clip. So, you're back already?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
Just a second.
Okay, I need you to talk for a little bit because I'm looking for the next timestamp for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you can go ahead and do that. I got lots of things to say, especially about the cascade of cavalcade of bullshit that came out of his mouth on the weekend in Quebec. I'm still astonished that he's allowed to do and say these things and get away with it. It's like, why are journalists not allowed to interview him and discuss with him all the things he said? When will he stand in front of have a press conference where he's actually asked questions that he needs to answer to? Will he be held to task for all the lies he just spewed on the weekend? Somehow I doubt it, because he won't get in front of a microphone unless he has the people in front of him he wants to see getting asked the questions he wants to answer in the way that he wants to answer them. The man is a snake oil salesman, nothing more. And if the Conservatives ascend to power in the next election and he's in charge, we are in deep, deep trouble. And I don't think what could happen if that does happen. It's I don't see it.
Yeah,
we're good to go here, sir. I'm queued up.
Yeah. Okay. So the timestamp, I was actually gonna show what happened after, but I'm actually going to play the part that he said about the youth and the veterans because you really need to hear it. And then he finishes it off by going full Gables.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
To keep
De Sept.
their family
The Prime
home.
Minister thinks he has it tough. Our youth, almost all of them. We have youth here today, right? Yes, we do. Almost all the young people I meet these days, they have 2 jobs, sometimes 3. Not to save up for a home, they've long ago given up on that goal, but just to avoid getting evicted. They'd love to have kids, but they're running out of time and there's nowhere to put them in their $1,500 a month studio apartment. 8 years ago, Their eyes beamed with possibility. Now they have big black bags under their eyes as they drop off another midnight Uber Eats delivery, their third job. Mr. Prime Minister, our youth are not angry. They're too exhausted to be angry. He should meet the mom who broke down and told the cashier at the grocery store that all that she can afford is the half-price chicken that is past expiry, which gives her family food poisoning. And the cashier said, "I can relate. I live in a tent." It's not anger in their voice, Mr. Prime Minister. It's anxiety. They can't sleep at night because they don't know what they're going to feed their children in the morning. If Mr. Trudeau thinks politicians have it tough, he should meet the veterans that asked his department for help with post-trial to consider instead medical assistance in dying. Remember, this is the Prime Minister who famously told our veterans that they were asking for more than he could give. These soldiers and veterans are not angry either. They are heartbroken that the freedoms they fought for abroad are not respected or repaid here at home. For our veterans.
Excuse me, I got to go put my hip waders on. It's getting higher.
Right? I told you, right?
For our veterans. And instead of apologizing to these people for the hell he's put them through, Mr. Trudeau instead calls them names. He wants Canadians to blame each other and not him. He divides divides to distract using race, religion, region, sexuality. He thinks that if you're
Oh my God!
I told you he was going to go full Gables.
afraid of your neighbor, you'll forget that you can't afford your groceries. You see, Mr. Trudeau and I agree that things are broken. We just disagree on what's broken and who broke it. He thinks the people are the problem. Canadians know he is the problem.
Okay. Did I tell you he was going to go full Gables? I guess.
Jesus Christ.
And the irony, right, is that the whole reason they're pursuing these trans things, anti-trans resolutions, is that they're hoping that if they can get their base mad enough about trans stuff, they won't talk about abortion and climate change, which doesn't resonate with the moderate voters. But since it's trans and kids and we wrap it up in parental rights, and what, 1% of the population or 0.5% of the population are trans children, so nobody will care about them. So if we can get you talking about parental rights and trans kids, and please just shut the fuck up about abortion and climate change denial, maybe we can get in this time. That's literally what they're doing. The same thing. He's trying to turn you against each other so that you don't get about how angry about your grocery bill is. Right, Kid Saucy? That's exactly how it works. Evangelicals have been helping teach right-wing politicians how to scare people. People have been abandoned the church but fallen victim to extremist politics. It's anyone else want to retch then punch the screen, says Kid Dan. Like I said, I am so sorry. I have to show this to you. But yeah. Interesting comment from the guy running the party that closed veterans offices.
Yeah, that's what I said. My father, a veteran, has no use for that party. They will sit there and tell you all these wonderful things that they want you to hear and not tell you the things that they did. Not tell you that they took, like I said, we used to take care of our veterans until they died. And now you get a one-time payout. And they make you, by the way, to the gentleman in a wheelchair because both of his legs were blown off by an IED in Afghanistan. Every year he has to reapply and prove that his legs have not grown back.
Yep.
And I'm not making this up. Rick Mercer did a thing on it.
Yep.
It's legit.
Yep.
It really happened.
No, still don't have my legs. I have some people who are HIV positive. Some friends who are on long-term disability, and it's like every year. Yep, still HIV positive.
Yeah,
Trust me, if they had found a cure, I wouldn't be. But every year they have to file in that form. All right. A little more from him. This time, just again some slogans and some wording and some packaging to get you to see how clever it is that they're doing it. But if you're listening to it, it really is a let's call it simple solutions for simple minds.
Okay.
But we won't let him divide us anymore. We won't let him put our country and its people down to push himself. Canadians are not small or angry. They are big, generous people. They deserve better than this. They have to give up the things that we used to take for granted, affordable homes and foods, to pay for the incompetence and ego of one man. After 8 years, Justin Trudeau is not worth the cost, and he is not worth the country that we know and that we love.
He loves the applause, though, doesn't he?
But you know the hopeful thing in all this? The hopeful thing is we know what the problem is. And we know it can be fixed. Because life wasn't like this before Trudeau, and it won't be like this after he's gone, which proves that we can turn the hurt into hope. Ladies and gentlemen, we will do this with a Prime Minister that unites all of our people, that casts aside the things that divide us and focuses instead on the things that we have in common. A Prime Minister...
Okay, wait a second. I let this go without making the comment that he supported the convoy. They occupied my neighborhood for 3+ weeks, and he supported them. And now he's saying he's going to unite us? The bullshit. Oh.
Opens his arms, wraps them around every single Canadian, every region, with every story, because we have one common future that we share together, right?
All right, got it there. Opens his arms and wraps it around everyone, including straight and white pride folks.
Yes.
Right, PP? By the way, we're still waiting for you to get back to us on what it is you're going to do to help us celebrate the fact that gays can live in freedom. Starting to get the feeling you ghosted us.
He robbed us of freedom this weekend. They robbed us of freedom this weekend. Freedom of the press was robbed from us this weekend. But they're the party of freedom. But it's freedom as they dictate it to you. Yep. Did I say dictate? I did.
Yes, except you didn't pause after dick long enough.
Yeah,
now, as I saw Kit Jake, our old pal Jake, who was here earlier, I'm not sure if he's still there, saying, wow, I hadn't even thought about the opportunities for screwing people over with bilingualism. Well, then he goes into talking about axing the tax. And when he talks about it in French, it's the Blanchette Trudeau tax. Because, of course, the Bloc wants, the Bloc actually wants higher rates for, for regulation and climate change and all that kind of stuff. And when he talks about it in English, well, it's the Trudeau Singh tax. I just say he's dishonest as the day is long. Next timestamp I'm going to send to you, Mr. Grizzly. Here he starts talking about inflation. Well, he's basically trying to give people an economics class here and tell how inflation works. But there's a couple of things that doesn't quite get right. And it's kind of accidentally,
Well,
intentionally on
that's not a
purpose,
shock to me at all.
because or else the narrative doesn't hold. So,
Right, of course.
Mr. Grizzly, if you're ready.
There's a second tax I'll get rid of, the inflation tax. Yes, inflation is a tax. When government
Okay, come on.
Just call
Come
it a
on.
tax.
governments print money
Just call
to
it a
fund their
tax.
spending, they raise prices. Now, normally with a tax increase, you have to have a vote in the House of Commons to change the law, raising a rate or introducing a new tax, a new levy. That is a rule that has lived for 800 years since the Magna Carta required get the consent of the people before taking their money. But politicians have since that time found a slight way around the rule. Instead of passing a law to raise the tax and being held accountable for it, the people who pay the tax, they just get their central banks to create more money. And that money, of course, goes into the economy and a sneaky tax because politicians don't have to vote on it. But it's also a moral tax because it steals from the seniors' savings, the workers' paychecks, and takes food from the mouths of the working poor. It is a silent thief, quietly picking the pockets of the poor. It is there, pulling money out of the wallet of the elderly grandmother as her $100 all of a sudden only buys $80 of groceries. And there it is again, the thief, reaching into the bank account of the young family who now has to wait 25 years to save up for a down payment. The radical money printing deficits of Justin Trudeau, funded with newly created cash, caused the money supply to grow in coins, bills, and bank deposits, $1.8 trillion to $2.4 trillion. A mind-blowing 32% increase in the supply of money while the economy grew by 4%. In other words, 8 times faster than the stuff that money buys, which bid up the cost of everything. And now Trudeau forces the same people who suffer from his inflation to pay higher interest rates to stop it. Recently, former Liberal Finance Minister John Manley said Trudeau's deficits were pressing on the inflationary gas pedal, which forces the Bank of Canada to press on the brakes with higher interest rates. These higher rates now collide with the very over-indebted families who the government encouraged to take on overpriced mortgages to buy overly expensive homes. Time is running out for these families. If rates rise before these families renew their mortgages, they will lose their homes. My common sense plan cuts waste and caps spending to bring down inflationary deficits and interest rates so Canadians can keep their homes. Here's how we'll do it.
Okay.
When I'm Prime Minister, we'll adopt a dollar.
Okay. Whole bunch of bullshit here. Number one.
I could
He
not
is-
have gone to that convention because I'd be thrown out for screaming, "You fucking liar!"
Okay.
I'd be
Number-
screaming it at the top of my lungs.
Right. Number one. He's complaining about the federal government or the Bank of Canada having changed banking policy, going to quantitative easing, for example, during a global crisis, which is exactly what happened in 2008.
Hmm.
They had no issue with the Bank of Canada, skippy air quotes, printing money back
Yeah.
then, did they? And that was a
Of course not.
not as big crisis by any stretch.
As
At
the
that
global
time,
pandemic was.
the Bank of Canada lowered rates and engaged in quantitative easing, but we didn't get ridiculous inflation. So perhaps that means that there's something other than the government engaging in huge deficits which they did during the financial crisis, or the Bank of Canada setting the interest rate, which they still did during the financial crisis, that contributes to inflation. Now, he is things like supply chains and shortages and an amount of people available to produce stuff. And amount of money sloshing around. He is correct in suggesting that a higher supply of cash with a lower supply of goods and services on which to spend them causes prices of those goods and services to increase because people have more money to throw at them. And you can basically get into bidding wars for stuff, and corporations can turn around and say, well, let's just see how much these suckers are willing to pay for this. That also happened.
Kind of what's happened, right?
Right? That's what happened. So, and he's complaining, right? It's like, oh, government spending on this is increasing inflation. Okay. Economics for dumbasses. Any spending, regardless of the source, contributes to inflation. So the whole year that he was campaigning to become leader of the party while not doing any work, and we were paying for that, all the money spent on that, the traveling, the buses going place to place, all the communications people had, that contributed to inflation too. His $7,000 1-month water bill at Stornoway, that contributed to inflation. That garden party he just threw while he said that the prime minister doesn't actually need a house bed more than the basic stuff because 24 Sussex is, falling, I guess, that too contributed to inflation. That conference that he was just at, that convention with that big stage and those lights and all that audio, like that contributed to inflation.
No, it's only inflation when Trudeau does it. It's only when Trudeau does it, though.
All the conservative provincial premiers giving off like $500 affordability checks. That contributes to inflation. All right. So where he's incorrect is in his effort to just casually skippy over the inconvenient reality that there was the global pandemic, during which individual Canadians' personal supply of money or savings increased because there weren't any goods and services to buy, like we mentioned, which created the pent-up demand. And that's why, because COVID didn't end at the same rate all around the world. So, for example, when there was another wave in China, and the microchips that were already behind stopped flowing again, right? And all of a sudden, that new car you were waiting for that was supposed to come in 6 months is now coming in a year and 2 months because the microchips, right? All that kind of stuff. Maybe that had something to do with it.
No. It was all Justin Trudeau, just inflation. That's all it was.
And then he talks about Trudeau forced you to pay higher interest rates. Trudeau doesn't set the interest rate. It's a no-no. And we know this is not true because when Trudeau, I think it was last year, said, I don't think about monetary policy because it's not his job to.
No,
and they crucified him.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to say that he does think about money. If he's setting the interest rates, then he must be thinking about monetary policy a lot, right? So which one is it? Conservatives, does he not think about monetary policy, or is it? And when he said about housing, he said housing is not the federal government's primary responsibility, but there is a role for us to play and we will help. Well, that translated into housing is not my priority. When it goes through the bullshit 3000 machine, and the conservatives reinterpret it, right? And then you'll notice that he said that the federal government, Trudeau, encouraged families to take ownerships of overly priced homes. When did we ever hear that? When did we ever hear the prime minister or anybody from the government going out and telling people, yeah, this is a good time to go out and buy a home?
Never. It's never been said. Never.
Straight up lie. Straight up lie.
His lies just continue on unabated because nobody ever holds him responsible for it.
And there is absolutely nothing that Pierre can do that's going to help the people who I was talking about, the 64% of Canadians that will have renewed their mortgages by the end of next year, before he even becomes prime minister, who now have a mortgage, like if it was like mine, that's like 52% or 54% higher than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What's he going to do? Go into all those banks and tell them cut their mortgages down?
Of course not. He probably has shares in those banks, and he's making money off of you.
I'm guessing that he's heavily invested in REITs.
Oh, yeah.
Real estate income
I
trusts.
have no doubt whatsoever. I have no doubt whatsoever.
Then he was going into there saying that his policy, the way he's going to do that, is by bringing about a dollar for dollar policy where $1 of new spending means that you have to find $1 in waste being cut. Oh, the conservatives love that. Oh, yeah. I just got to pay for everything dollar to dollar. Except for what happens because it's not all waste. I mean, some of that healthcare money actually does go into making sure that those kids in Calgary are getting that dialysis, right? So there's only so much waste. So what happens when you've cut all the waste that you can cut because it's limited? And then you still have need. And then what do you do if you're going to maintain that policy of $1 needing to be cut from something if new dollar is being spent, but you need to buy something all of a sudden that's extremely high cost? But you got to find that dollar that same year. So let's say, there's this huge disaster somewhere in Nova Scotia, and now you have to build like a tidal retaining wall or something like that. That's going to cost something like, I don't know, let's say it's $20 billion. And because those things always come under the budget by about 4 times, let's say the bill actually comes in at 80 or something. What are you suddenly going to cut $80 billion from to pay for that? Because it's not like you can delay that tidal wall. You're going to have to build it now because hurricane season is annual.
Oh, I know where they'll find the money. Say goodbye to EI, CPP, welfare.
Okay, but given that
the entire social safety net.
Okay, and let's say we build that tidal wall, and then we have another summer wildfires, and now we have to build breaks, or we have the Red River flooding, and we have to short the banks. And what happens if things happen in 2 provinces in 1 territory at the same time? That at some point, the beauty of being a federal government is that you can borrow on 100-year basis. Like you don't go out and but this we need $42 billion for that project. You're not paying that back in 25 years.
No.
Like a mortgage. Right? It's just so basically he's saying that type of debt he wouldn't spread over time. He was the advantage of the government. It's like you got to pay that. Like this, we're taking that dollar out right now. So basically, he's proposing to run the government with one hand tied behind his back. It sounds really great in a 15-second soundbite. For every dollar you spend, I'm going to take $1 out. But when you game it out, it's insanely dumb. And then he continues on and we're going to restore and enforce the low inflation mandate that Brian Mulroney legislated into place in the early 90s. It will mean the Bank of Canada once again will have only one job, and that is to keep inflation low for Canadians. Yes. Now, the reason he's saying that, if I remember correctly, is that the Bank of Canada's mandate was slightly expanded in 2021. Slightly, to promote the economic and financial welfare of, that's its mandate.
Yes.
But they were focusing on the 2% inflation. And I believe in the United States, Joe Biden changed the mandate for them to focus on 2 things. So like the Fed has a dual mandate, as we only have a single mandate. Yes. And I think there was like a slight change to get the bank to be able to think about a few more things. But really, they really still, for all intents and purposes, only have one core mandate. But let's say we took away that little bit of expansion, and the Bank of Canada had to focus solely, absolutely 100%, solely 100% on inflation. That would mean that the bank would need to be doing more of what it is currently doing, not less.
Mhm.
So that particular policy has the direct opposite result that he says he would want. We're going to force the bank to do just this one thing. Well, yeah, if they do just that one thing, that means they'd be raising interest rates even faster. Dude. It's like, but according to Anna, he's the financial genius that spends hours in his office in quiet contemplation and analysis. Then later on, as he's talking about this housing thing, he quotes a very popular Quebec song called Dégénération by a group called Mes Aïeux. So it's a song that's in the traditional rigodon style with fiddle and and spoons like this. And the song basically goes, something like your great-great-grandmother had 14 children. Your great-grandmother had almost as many. Your grandmother had 3. That was enough, and your mother didn't want any. You were an accident. And you change partners all the time. When you make a mistake, you correct it with an abortion, blah, 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 right? That's the song. So it's called Degenerations, from generation to generation. It's a very clever song. And then one of them's about land. Right, your great-great-grandfather, well, he took all the trees off the land, and then somebody else then, made the land available for agriculture, and then, your grandfather became a public service and then sold off the land, and, now you live in a little 3.5, and you dream at night of having your own little plot of land. So he's really, 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 really playing that Quebec card really hard, trying to relate it to cultural stuff. And he goes, yeah, a lopin de terre, a lopin de terre. Yeah, you deserve a lopin de terre. It's a lopin de terre. So he actually mispronounces it. And as you could say, right, you could see he really loved the applause. It's almost like he was sitting there and was going, "Gee, Mom, look,
They
all that
love
applause
me.
is for me. I'm one of the cool kids now."
They love me. They
Yeah,
really,
they
really
really
love
love me.
me.
So those were the moments, and sometimes you see he's standing and his arms are like to his side, and he doesn't really know what to do with them before he brings them up and stuff. So you could tell that he's not completely comfortable in the skin there, but that works. And then there's one, I see you have to jump soon, so I'm going to play one other timestamp for you. And this one just made me jump right out of my seat. And if you are in Ontario and living in Ontario, this one will make you jump out of the seat too. Because, whoa. Now, somewhere along the way, while you're looking for that, he actually tried some policy too, because at some point around the 58th minute of the night, in an hour and 26-minute event, that's when he started to get to some policy, some actually concrete measures, right? And he basically had 2 points, just 2 points. And it's like, and I go, wait a minute, that's it? That's the plan? That's the whole plan?
Mhm.
It's like, okay,
Here we
there we
go.
go.
To buy a house, in fact. This should be the least expensive place to buy a house.
Mass. This should be the cheapest place in the world to own a home. In fact, there are only 4 countries.
Hold on a second now. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
I know.
That is insane. That's ridiculous.
know.
Come on, look how
I
big this
know.
country is, and remember the climate in this country. That's the stupidest.
And remember that about 90% of the landmass has
on
nobody
planet
living?
Earth, that have more land per capita than we do. So with all this land, why is it that we have the fewest homes per capita in the G7? Well, the answer is that we built fewer homes last year than we did in 1972. Our population has doubled, and we're building fewer homes. Now, let's figure out why that is. What do you think is the most expensive building a new home in, say, Vancouver? Labor, lumber, land, nope, government. And we know this because C.D. Howe did a study where they compared the cost of materials, labor, land, and profit to the final sale price, and the $1.3 million gap between them. In Toronto, it was $350,000. That gap is the taxes, the delays, consultants, the lawyers, the charges, the fees, the zoning changes, on and on it goes. These costs.
Regulations. He wants to get rid of the gatekeepers again, right?
Drive up the price of Canadians to buy a home. Canada has the second slowest building permits in the OECD. The UK and US offer building permits 3 times without compromising safety. Another study shows that Montreal City Hall did the construction of 24,000 new houses.
So he continues on all of this, right? And then says that he is going to he's going to set a certain amount of housing that needs to be built in a certain amount of time, without which municipalities will have funding cut. Which will help.
Municipalities
talking about eliminating
are
this,
for it, though.
but here it is. So it's like, he's upset that the federal government is giving direct funding to municipalities. He's calling the municipal governments the gatekeepers. He's picking fights with the municipalities. He wants the money to be directed to the provincial governments, for whom housing has been a responsibility for the past decades and who have done nothing.
Nothing.
Want it. And he's trying to get involved. He's basically promised in that speech, that wasn't the exact clip, unfortunately, like this, but there's some wording in it that's like, oh my God. I think it's a little bit after that. Yeah, I think it's in his plan. Sorry. Yeah, I think I cut you off early on what he said. But he basically is taking the Greenbelt strategy national. What Doug Ford did in Toronto, he wants to do that nationally and internationally.
He wants to do it nationally. Now, let's be honest here. The Prime Minister and his government has not done a good job on housing.
No.
They haven't. I understand that it's not a federal responsibility, it's a provincial one. He did promise to do something about it, and they have not done a good job. They have not. That's true. But he's just spewing lies again. Municipalities are responsible for housing. They get the money from the province, and then the municipality is responsible for it. But he's trying to put it all in lay it all at the feet of the federal government. And again, like I said, they have not done a good job. I'm not denying that. It's true.
Yeah.
They've dropped the ball on that.
Yeah.
But
so
he's just lying.
If you still have the clip where it is, if you continue playing it, you'll hear the exact wording, because I cut you off a little too early.
Just a sec here.
Slapped down by the court. They blocked 2,000 homes right next to a transit station built specifically for those homes. And what is Trudeau's response? He gives up bureaucracy. At a federal level, he's built up a bureaucracy at the CMHC. It slows down financing for the builders' affordable apartment units, all of the problem. When I'm Prime Minister, my government will stop giving tax dollars to gatekeepers.
Okay. All right. There we go. So CMHC and your municipal city councils now are gatekeepers. There's more. We'll hit on it tomorrow. There's one in particular that will make you very happy, Mr. Grizzly, because it'll prove a point that you've been making a lot. So Kidz, we'll continue with that tomorrow for you. But yeah, just Crazy.
Not a wrap.
All right, Kidz. That's the end.
You won't let me put the fan on while the fucking podcast is on. So I'm getting grumpy.
She's grumpy.
Kidz, Mr. Grizzly, I think we have a show here.
Yeah, we got a show.
Yeah. Kidz, that's the end of this episode of the True North Eager Beaver podcast, the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to this because we love making this for you. And trust me, I have to love you to have subjected myself to that. So you know it's real. All right. Because democracy is something that you do. Please, if you're in Manitoba, make sure that you have checked out to sure that you're on the voters lists and that everything's up to date so that you can plan your vote. If you are in Ontario, today around noon is the absolute last moment whatsoever to register to vote in the Ontario Liberal Party nomination race, leadership race. So please go to the Ontario Liberal site, register. It is free so that you can cast a vote at the party leadership convention. You'll probably be able to cast your vote by distance as well, I'm pretty sure. But to make sure that you vote for the candidate that is the least likely to be involved in a real estate development snare as well. So those are two things that you can do. Of course, donate to the Red Cross. Of course, write your media, your MPs, and all that kind of stuff. Because word of mouth is priceless. Please tell your peeps and poops about us. We really appreciate that, and we see that some of you are. So thank you so very much. We really appreciate it. If you want to subscribe to us to make sure that you do not miss an episode as soon as it comes off the bandwidth, then you need to go to our pod page, which you can do by scanning that QR code that's right under me. Thank you to the Ray Girl for sponsoring the pod page for us. Or if you are listening, you go to podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver, all in lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And that's where you can subscribe to us, and we'll come straight to you when we have something fresh off the bandwidth. And if you love us so much that you really can't stand it, well, you might want to smash those buttons like Kit Elaine says on our True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated page. Smash, like, subscribe. And if you'd rather say our other three favorite words, free beer today, well, then you go to coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word, or that squiggly that which Mr. Grizzly has just been pointing there. Yes, scan that. And that's where you can make your contribution to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, where Caesar, Guinness, hot chocolate, and, well, sometimes gluten-free Farm Boy chocolate chip ice cream cookies, because when the ice cream melts, it still hydrates, So, help keep us moist and deliver a wonderful product to you. We appreciate every donation, and someone did make a donation not too long ago. Unfortunately, I can't bring up the page on this computer, so but I will give you credit and proper thanks. All right, kids and poops, from the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, some words of wisdom, please.
Make sure you write your MP, MPP, MLA. Let them know you cannot stand the garbage coming out of the mouth of the Member of Parliament from Carleton. Let them know. You're sick of the lies. Sick of the lies. You're sick of being like me, exasperated all the damn time. That's it.
All right. Mr. Grizzly, please roll them credits. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. right, kids and cubs, wishing you an absolute most wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. Go out there and make some good stuff happen.
See ya.